Stop her! She stole my wallet!
Time to see a small, slim figure dart away through the busy city street. It was late afternoon in downtown Atlanta, and the sidewalk was crowded with people, food trucks, street vendors, and loud music from a nearby African restaurant. For a moment the billionaire didn't believe it. Him, robbed. Then he felt his empty back pocket. His heart kicked. That wallet held more than credit cards. It held a worn photo of a baby girl he had not seen in 16 years. "Stop her," the guard shouted, pointing. "The girl in the yellow hoodie." The girl weaved through the crowd like she had been running her whole life. She was fast, dodging between people, bouncing off a parked car, cutting into a narrow alley. Tunde didn't think, he ran. Drivers honked when he rushed past. His polished Italian shoes slapped the pavement. His security team followed behind, shouting into radios. But the billionaire did not slow down. He could see only the back of that yellow hoodie and the flash of tight black braids flying as the girl ran. "Stop," he yelled. "Give me back my wallet." The girl glanced over her shoulder. For a second he saw her face, sharp jaw, wide brown eyes, fear mixed with stubborn fire. She pushed harder, legs pumping. Tunde's chest burned, but anger pushed him on. How dare a street kid steal from him? Him, who had climbed from the dusty streets of Lagos to the glass towers of Atlanta. The girl cut between two dumpsters into a tighter alley that smelled of fried chicken and old smoke. A high fence blocked the end. She skidded to a stop. Tunde slowed too, breath heavy. His guards spread out behind him, closing the way back. The alley was suddenly small and quiet. You could still hear the city, but it felt far away. The girl turned around slowly. Her chest rose and fell. She clutched the dark leather wallet in her hand like she was ready to run right through him if she had to. "Drop it," one of the guards barked. "Right now." She lifted her chin. "I'm not scared of you," she said, but her voice trembled just a bit. Tunde stepped forward, wiping sweat from his forehead with his sleeve. Now that she was closer, something about her face tugged at his memory. The shape of her eyes, the curve of her mouth. A strange, painful feeling moved in his chest. He tried to shake it off. "You should be scared," he said, voice low. "Do you know who I am?" "I don't care who you are," she shot back. "Rich people don't scare me anymore." The guard to Tunde's left shifted, hand resting near his holster. This was standard. Protect the boss, control the threat. But Tunde barely noticed. His eyes had fixed on something around the girl's neck. The girl moved and a small pendant slipped out from under her hoodie. It was a simple silver half-moon, old and scratched, hanging from a thin chain. Tunde froze. For a moment the whole world went silent. No cars, no horns, no shouting security, just the faint rattle of the chain against the girl's collarbone. He knew that pendant. He knew it the way he knew his own name. 16 years ago in Lagos, he had bought 2 matching half-moon pendants from a street seller. One for the woman he loved, one for the baby girl they were waiting for. He had kept his half. The other half, the matching one, he had given to his newborn daughter the day she was born. The daughter who disappeared with her mother soon after. The daughter he had never found. His lips parted. The alley swam in front of him. The girl frowned, confused at the way he was staring. Where did you get that necklace?" Tunde asked. His voice did not sound like his own. The girl blinked. Her fingers flew to the pendant as if to protect it. "This," she said. "My mom gave it to me. She said my father put it on me when I was a baby before he disappeared." The guards glanced at each other. Tunde's vision blurred for a heartbeat. His heart pounded so loudly he could hear it like a drum in his ears. His stolen wallet. His missing daughter. The same pendant. It could not be real. Yet the silver half-moon shone in the fading light, almost mocking him. He took another slow step forward. What is your name?" he whispered. The girl stared back, eyes hard, but there was a small tremble in her bottom lip now. "My name is Amara," she said. "Amara Cole." The alley spun. Everything Tunde thought he knew about his life cracked open like dry ground under heavy rain. And as the reality crashed over him, his mind was pulled backward, years into the past, to another crowded street, another hot afternoon, and a promise he had failed to keep. Back in Lagos, long before the tall buildings and private jets, Tunde had been just another hardworking young man with big dreams and worn-out shoes. He sold second-hand phones in a noisy market, shouting prices over the honking of keek and buses. On one of those hot days, he met a young woman named Kem. She was dark-skinned and bright-eyed, with a laugh that cut through the noise. She sold plantain chips and Fanta from a small stall under a faded umbrella. Soon, Tunde was finding reasons to pass by her stall. "Let me buy one more," he would say, even with his pockets nearly empty. "And I will give you one free," Kem would tease, "only because you talk too much." The market boys joked that he was wasting time, but Tunde didn't care. He was sure that his future was written with this woman beside him. They dreamed together. He would build a big business. She would open a restaurant. Their children would never know hunger the way they did. When Kem told him she was pregnant, they sat on a bench by the lagoon at dusk, watching the water turn gold. "We will name her Amara if it is a girl," Kem said softly. "Grace, because God has been kind to us." Tunde smiled and squeezed her hand. "Our daughter will have everything," he promised. "I swear it." But life is not always kind, even when names are sweet. Kem's family did not like Tunde. They said he was too poor, too ambitious, always chasing dreams instead of settling down with a simple job. They did not trust him. They did not believe he could support their daughter and a baby. One night there was a big argument. Voices rose, doors slammed, neighbors watched from their windows. In the morning, Kem and her parents were gone. The stall was empty. Her phone line was dead. Tunde searched for weeks. He asked everyone in the market, walked through other neighborhoods, spoke to old neighbors, even checked hospitals. But Lagos is a big city, and poor people can disappear very easily. He never found her. He never saw his baby girl. Only the tiny half-moon pendant in his hand reminded him that somewhere, somehow, his daughter might still be alive. Years passed. His phone business grew. He moved to America, made the right deals, invested in real estate and tech, and became the famous Chief Tunde Cole, billionaire, speaker, donor, the man on magazine covers. But every night before he slept, he would open his wallet and look at the faded picture of a newborn baby in a hospital blanket, and he would whisper the same words. "I'm still looking for you, my child." Now in a narrow alley in Atlanta, the past and present finally collided. The girl in the yellow hoodie, Amara, stood just a few steps away, holding his stolen wallet and wearing the missing half of the moon around her neck. One of the guards shifted again, nervous. "Sir," he said quietly, "do you want us to call the police? We can handle this girl, she's just a thief." Amara's eyes flashed. "I'm not just a thief," she snapped. "I only steal when I have to." Tunde swallowed, torn between the world that knew him as a powerful billionaire and the painful truth beating in his heart. He raised his hand slightly, signaling the guards to hold back. "Amara," he said slowly, tasting the name, "tell me, did your mother ever talk about Lagos?" Her eyes narrowed, suspicion mixing with confusion. "Yes," she said. "She said that's where she met a man who promised to give us the world, then left us with nothing." Behind Tunde, a guard reached for his radio, ready to call the police. Another guard, thinking the girl might run or pull a weapon, moved his hand from his belt to his gun, the metal cold and heavy in his palm. Amara didn't notice. Her focus was on Tunde. "Why are you asking all this?" she demanded. You got your guards, your money, your fancy suit. Just take your wallet and go. People like you never stay to help. The guard's finger curled around the trigger, slow and tense. All he saw was a scared street girl who had just robbed his boss. Tun's mouth opened as a terrifying realization finally formed into words in his mind. Because if this girl was who he thought she was, if this girl was truly his Amara, then one wrong move in that tight alley, one sudden shout, one frightened step, one nervous twitch of a guard's hand, could steal his daughter from him a second time. For good. As the wind rustled trash on the ground, the guard's finger tightened. The girl's eyes filled with fresh anger, and Tund finally drew in a shaky breath. He had to choose his next words very carefully. Everybody stop. Tund's voice cut through the tension in the alley like a sharp knife. His guards froze. The girl froze. Even the wind seemed to pause. He raised his hand fully now, his fingers shaking just a little. Lower your weapons, he said quietly, now. Sir, she stole from you, the closest guard protested. We can't just. I said lower it, Tund repeated, this time with the full weight of a man used to being obeyed in boardrooms across 2 continents. The guard hesitated, then slowly eased his hand away from the gun. The other guards followed, still watchful, but no longer on the edge of something terrible. Amara's eyes darted from one man to another. She looked like a cornered cat, unsure if she should scratch or run. I'm not going to jail, she said, clutching the wallet tighter. I swear I'll fight. I'm not going back to any shelter. Tund heard the fear behind the fire. He took a slow step closer, careful, like a man approaching a wild animal that had once been his pet. No one is taking you to jail, he said. Not today. She narrowed her eyes. Rich people say nice things when they want something, she replied. Then they forget you exist. A memory flashed in his mind. Enkem, eyes full of tears, saying, Promise you won't forget us, Tund. Poor people are easy to forget. He swallowed. Give me my wallet, he said softly, and I promise we will talk. Just talk, here, in public. You can even stand by the exit if it makes you feel safe. Amara looked past him. She could see the street again. The noise of Atlanta returned. The distant sirens, the music, the smell of jollof and fried chicken drifting from an African restaurant on the corner. If she ran, she might escape. But his guards were big, and they knew these streets too. If she stayed, maybe she would eat real food today. Her stomach twisted, reminding her she had only eaten a small packet of chips since morning. Slowly, she held out the wallet. Fine, she muttered, take it, but if you try anything funny, I'm gone. Tund reached for it, their fingers brushing for the first time. The contact sent a strange shock through him. He took back the wallet, but his eyes stayed on her necklace. Let's go where there are people, he said. That restaurant over there, Mama K's African Kitchen, you know it. Her guard dropped just a little. Yeah, she admitted. Sometimes I stare through the window and imagine what the food tastes like. One of the guards scoffed under his breath, but Tund shot him a warning look. Then today, he said quietly, you will not imagine, you will eat. Amara frowned, suspicious. You're acting weird for a man who just got robbed. You have no idea, he murmured. They walked out of the alley together, but there was still space between them, space filled with years of unanswered questions. The guards flanked them, confused by their boss's sudden softness, but well-trained enough not to ask. Inside Mama K's African Kitchen, the air was warm and thick with the smell of spices. Afrobeats played softly from a speaker in the corner. Pictures of Lagos traffic, Ghanaian markets, and Harlem streets lined the walls. The owner, a big woman with kind eyes and a bright Ankara hijab, called out, Chief Cole, big man, you remembered us today. Tund managed a small smile. Good afternoon, Mama K. Her eyes slid to Amara's torn jeans and scuffed sneakers, then to the guards, then back to Tund. She understood more than she said. "You want your usual?" she asked. "Jollof rice with grilled chicken and plantain." "Yes," he said, "and the same for her, extra meat." Amara blinked. "For me?" "Unless you brought someone else I cannot see," Mama Kay joked. Amara opened her mouth to argue, but her stomach growled loudly, answering for her. Mama Kay pretended not to notice, only smiling and hurrying away. They sat at a table by the window. Amara chose the chair closest to the door. One guard stayed outside. Two sat at a nearby table, pretending to look at their phones but watching closely. For a moment, nobody spoke. Streetlights began to glow outside as the sun dipped lower. Cars moved slowly in traffic. People passed the window, each carrying their own silent stories. Tunde folded his hands on the table. "Tell me about your mother," he said. Amara pressed her lips together. "Why?" "Because I think I knew her," he answered softly. "A long time ago, in Lagos." Her eyes flicked up sharply. "Lots of people have been to Lagos," she said. "That doesn't mean anything." "But not many women wore a half-moon necklace just like yours," he said. "And not many named their daughters Amara." His words landed in her chest like a heavy stone. The pendant suddenly felt heavier around her neck. In her mind, she saw her mother lying in that small hospital bed in Atlanta, sweat on her forehead, voice soft and fatting. "Your father is not a bad man," Nkem had whispered. "Life just pushed him away. One day you may see him or his name or his face. Don't harden your heart completely." Amara had turned her heart into a rock anyway. "Talk is cheap," she said now, though her voice had lost some of its sharpness. "You say you knew my mom, prove it." Before he could answer, Mama Kay arrived with plates. The rich red of the jollof rice, the bright yellow plantain, the steaming chicken, everything smelled like home and memory. Amara stared at the food, then picked up her fork and took one small bite. Her eyes closed for a second. "This tastes like when Mom used to save up and buy from that Nigerian woman in our old neighborhood," she said quietly. "Before she got sick." A shadow passed over her face. "How did she die?" Tunde asked gently. "Too much work, not enough care," Amara said, shrugging, though her eyes shone. "They said it was complications. She cleaned offices at night and hospital rooms in the day. One morning she just didn't get up." She poked at her rice. "Before she died," Amara continued, "she told me about a man back in Lagos, someone who promised to give us the world, someone her parents hated. His name," she hesitated, watching his face, "was Tunde." Mama Kay, wiping a table nearby, paused and slowly turned her head. Tunde felt the room tilt. "And she said," Amara added, her eyes locked on him now, "that if I ever met this man, I should look at his eyes first. If they were full of pride, I should walk away. If they were full of regret, I should listen. She said regret tells you where a person knows they failed." Silence wrapped around the table. Even the music seemed to soften. "What did she say his last name was?" Tunde whispered. Amara did not blink. "Cole," she said, "Tunde Cole." Mama Kay dropped the cloth in her hand. One of the guards looked up sharply. Outside the window, a group of teenagers laughed and crossed the street, unaware of the storm building inside. Tunde's chest felt tight. This was no longer a guess, no longer a ghost from the past. "Nkem," he breathed. "Your mother's name was Nkem, wasn't it?" The fork slipped from Amara's fingers and clattered against the plate. "How do you know that?" she asked, voice suddenly small. Tunde reached for his wallet with trembling hands. He opened it slowly, like a man opening a door he was afraid to look behind. From a hidden pocket, he pulled out a worn, folded photo. He laid it on the table between them. In the picture, a younger Tunde smiled shyly at the camera, his arm around Nkem, who held a tiny baby wrapped in a hospital blanket. A shiny half-moon necklace glowed at the baby's neck. Amara stared, her breath caught in her throat. She reached out with shaking fingers, touching the edge of the picture like it might burn her. "That baby," she whispered. That looks like the baby picture Mom kept in her Bible." Her eyes lifted to his face, searching. For the first time, she really looked at him. The shape of his nose, the line of his jaw, the way their eyebrows seemed to curve in the same way when they were angry or confused. Outside, a car horn blared. Inside, the world narrowed to a single breaking moment. Mama Kay took a slow step back, hand over her mouth, whispering, "Chai God, is this how you work?" Amara pushed back her chair suddenly, the legs scraping loudly on the floor. "No," she said, shaking her head. "This is some kind of trick. Rich people love tricks. You probably have pictures with 100 bobbies. You can't just show up, feed me one plate of jollof and say you're my father." Tears shone in her eyes, but anger held them in place. Tunde stood too, hands out in front of him, as if he could catch her pain before it fell. "Amara, listen." Before he could finish, the front door swung open with a loud chime. A middle-aged woman in scrubs with tired eyes and a shocked expression stepped inside. She froze when she saw the photo on the table, the pendant on Amara's neck and Tunde's face above it. Very slowly she whispered, "Amara, Chief Cole, you two finally met." Amara turned. "You know him?" she demanded. The woman nodded, tears already forming. "I was there the night your mother died," she said, "and there is something she told me, something I never had the courage to deliver." She reached into her bag and pulled out a sealed envelope with Amara's name written on it in a familiar, shaky hand. As Amara stared at the envelope that carried her dead mother's last words, the whole restaurant seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what would come next. And somewhere beyond the screen, if you are listening to this story, imagine standing in that small restaurant with them. The stolen wallet, the old photo, the half-moon necklace, and a letter that might change everything. Before we open that envelope in the next chapter, what do you think is written inside? Do you believe Amara should trust this man who claims to be her father after all these years? Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us where in the world you're watching from. If you want to know what happens when Amara finally hears her mother's last message, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves powerful stories like this one. For a long moment, no one moved. The letter sat on the table like a living thing, small, fragile, and powerful enough to tear the world apart. Amara stared at her name written in her mother's careful handwriting. The restaurant's warm lights flickered softly above her, but the air felt cold around her shoulders. Tunde's heart hammered painfully. He had imagined finding his daughter 1,000 different ways, through a phone call, a private investigator, a miracle, but never like this. Never with the sharpness of her anger cutting through every word, never with the memory of Enkem choking his breath in the middle of a restaurant. Amara swallowed. Where did you get that?" she finally asked the woman in scrubs. The woman stepped closer, her hands trembling. "My name is Nurse Abigail," she said gently. "I worked at the free clinic near your old apartment. I took care of your mother during her final weeks. She wrote this letter the night before she passed." Amara's face tightened. "Why didn't you give it to me?" Nurse Abigail's voice wavered. "You were only 10. You had no guardian. Social services moved you so fast I didn't know where they took you. I kept it all these years, praying I would find you someday." Amara looked away, her jaw clenched. "And now you show up, right when this man, this stranger, is trying to claim he's my father." "It is not coincidence," Nurse Abigail whispered. "Your mother believed you two would meet one day. She said life has a strange way of circling back." Amara's eyes flicked to Tunde. He didn't dare breathe. For a few seconds she just stared at the envelope as if it might explode. Then she picked it up slowly, very slowly, and sank back into her chair. She didn't open it. Not yet. She just held it against her chest, as though feeling her mother's presence through the paper. Tunde sat down too, afraid to crowd her, afraid to say the wrong thing. The guards watched quietly from their corner. Even Mama Kay wiped her eyes discreetly. Finally, Amara whispered, "If this letter is really from my mother, it should tell me the truth. No more guessing." Her fingers slipped under the flap. Tunde's entire world narrowed to that single moment. She opened the envelope. Inside was one folded sheet of paper, old, a little yellow at the edges. Carefully she unfolded it. Her mother's handwriting filled the page, soft curves, steady strokes. The kind of writing Amara remembered from notes Enkem left in her lunchbox back when life was easier. She began to read aloud, her voice trembling. "My dearest Amara, if you are reading this, it means I did not stay long enough to see you grow into the woman I know you will be. I am sorry. I wanted to fight longer for you." Her lips quivered, but she continued. "There is something you must know. Your father did not leave because he wanted to. He did not abandon us. My family, they forced me to leave Lagos and I was too weak to fight them. I told him things that were not true. I told him I no longer loved him. I lied because I was scared." A tear slipped down Amara's cheek. She brushed it away quickly. "Your father searched for us for months, then for years. I never told him where we went because I believed we were protecting you from poverty, but I was wrong. I took away your chance to know him." Amara closed her eyes. Tunde's hands gripped the edge of the table. She continued, voice barely above a whisper. "If life ever brings you two together, my daughter, look at his eyes. Your father carries regret like a shadow. If that shadow is still there, please forgive him. He never stopped loving you." The words hit her like a heavy blow. Her breath came short, sharp, unsteady. "And Amara," she read, "know this. The world is not always kind, but you carry my strength and your father's determination. You are made of love, never doubt that." The last words blurred as more tears filled her eyes. "Be brave, and if you find him, let him love you. Love, Mom." The letter slipped from her fingers onto the table. No one spoke. Silence wrapped around the room like a thick blanket, soft, heavy, suffocating. Amara covered her face with both hands. Her shoulders trembled. Years of anger, confusion, loneliness, and survival pressed down on her all at once. Tunde reached out, then stopped midair. He didn't want to push. He didn't want to rush her. But he wanted to hold her the way he had never gotten the chance to. "Amara," he said softly, "I." She dropped her hands, wiping her face roughly. "You said your name is Tunde Cole," she said, voice shaky but sharp. "You said you knew my mother, you said you searched for me. Fine." She pushed the letter toward him. "Read it. Tell me if this matches your story." He didn't touch the letter. "I don't need to," he said. "I know every word is true." Her eyes narrowed. "Anyone can say that." "I know," he whispered, "and I know I have no right to ask for your trust, but I am not lying to you, Amara." She looked away, staring blankly at the food she had barely touched. "How did you even end up here?" she asked quietly. "Atlanta. Mama and I lived here for years. Why would someone like you be walking around this city? And why today? Why the exact street where I pick pockets? Why now?" Her confusion was real. Her suspicion was deep. And the answer? The answer was one Tunde had been avoiding. He took a slow breath. "I came to Atlanta," he said steadily, "because 2 weeks ago I finally discovered something about your mother." Amara lifted her head slowly. "What did you discover?" The guards shifted uneasily. Mama Kay paused mid-step. Tunde looked down at his clasped hands. "I found out," he said softly, "that Enkem didn't disappear because she wanted to. Her family lied to me. They hid her from me. And by the time I started looking again..." He swallowed hard. She was already gone. A deep ache twisted across Amara's face. You never knew she died. He shook his head slowly. I found out only 2 weeks ago, and after that I hired people to look for you in Atlanta. I told them to search shelters, schools, hospitals. His voice wavered. I didn't know you were living on the streets. I didn't know you were alone. Amara clenched her jaw. If you had looked sooner. I know, he whispered. I should have searched harder, I should have fought for you, I should have. He stopped, his voice cracking for the first time. I failed you, and I failed your mother. Amara stared at him, torn between pain and disbelief. How did you find the street? She asked. His next words hit her like thunder. I traced the pendant, he said. I still had mine. I wondered if you still had yours. Someone told me a girl with a half-moon necklace had been seen near this block. I didn't know it was you. I only knew I had to look. She touched the pendant around her neck. Her mother had never taken it off her. She never knew why until today. And when you saw me steal your wallet, Amara said slowly, you chased me because you thought I was just a thief. He nodded. Yes, until I saw the necklace. She leaned back slowly, breath shaky. You're telling me, she whispered, that the only reason you found me is because I stole from you. Tunde exhaled shakily. Yes, but I would have kept searching. Even if today didn't happen, I would have found you eventually. She didn't know whether to cry or laugh. That's crazy, she whispered. My whole life changed because of one stupid mistake. Tunde smiled softly through the ache. Not a mistake, he said, a miracle. Before she could respond, the door to the restaurant swung open violently, hitting the wall with a bang. A man burst inside, tall, angry, and breathless. He scanned the room with wild, frantic eyes until they landed on Amara. There you are, the man shouted. What do you think you're doing? You think you can just disappear? You owe me money, girl. Amara's face drained of color. Tunde stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. The guards reached for their weapons again. And every single person in the restaurant felt the air shift, from shock to danger in one heartbeat. The man took another step forward. Amara, he growled, come here now. She froze. Tunde clenched his fists. Whatever this man wanted, whatever he planned to do, he would not take Amara away again. The man's voice echoed through the small restaurant like a thunderclap. Customers at nearby tables stiffened. Some lowered their forks. Others quietly backed away. The tension in the room thickened as if the air itself knew something dangerous was unfolding. Amara's fingers tightened around the edges of her chair. She didn't move. She didn't breathe. She just stared at the man, wide-eyed, trembling, frozen like prey staring at a predator. Tunde stepped instinctively in front of her. Who are you? He asked, voice low and controlled. The man ignored him completely. His glare stayed locked on Amara. You think you can run from me, he snapped. After everything I did for you, after all the food I gave you, you really thought you could just disappear with my money? Amara shook her head quickly. I don't owe you anything. Yes, you do, he barked, jabbing a finger at her. I took you in when you had nothing. You slept in my apartment, I fed you. And this is how you thank me, by stealing from me and running away like some stray. Tunde's jaw clenched so hard a vein appeared in his neck. He didn't need to hear more. He had seen men like this before. Men who took advantage of the weak. Men who trapped vulnerable kids with a little shelter and called it generosity. Men who demanded obedience in return. But he still asked quietly, what money? The man finally turned, noticing Tunde for the first time. He looked him up and down, expensive suit, commanding posture, guards standing like statues nearby. For a moment his bravado faltered. Then he forced a laugh. This is none of your business, old man. Wrong sentence. The guards straightened immediately, sensing the shift in their boss's silent anger. Tunde stepped forward, expression unreadable. It becomes my business, he said calmly. When you walk into a restaurant shouting at a young girl who clearly does not want to go with you. The man scoffed. You don't know anything about her. No, Tunde said, but I know she is not leaving with you. Amara swallowed hard. The room felt too small. She stared at the man who had once claimed to help her but had slowly turned her life into a cage. The man took one step toward her. You're coming with me, Amara, right now, before I. A guard stepped between them instantly. That's close enough, the guard said, hand resting on his belt. The man held up his palms. Oh, I get it now. She stole something from you guys, too. Figures. Girl, been trouble since the day I met her. Amara's breath hitched. That's not true, she murmured. I didn't steal from you. You took my mother's things and tried to sell them. That's why I left. Tunde's head snapped toward her. What? The man threw his hands up. Lies, all lies. She's ungrateful and unpredictable. I gave her a place to stay, and she repaid me by taking off with my cash. Amara stood suddenly, fists clenched. That cash. I saw you take it from someone's bag at the bus station. You didn't work for anything. You just use people and pretend you're doing them a favor. Customers gasped softly. The man's face twisted with embarrassment and rage. You watch your mouth, girl. He lunged. The guards reacted instantly. One grabbed his arm and twisted it behind his back. Another pinned his other arm. The man howled. Let me go, she's mine. Tunde's voice boomed before he even realized he was shouting. She is not yours. Silence fell again. Everyone froze. Amara's chest rose and fell quickly. Her eyes were shiny with unshed tears. The man struggled against the guards. You can't do this, I'll call the cops, she's a minor. She's 17, Amara cut in, voice breaking. I looked it up last month when you kept threatening to report me. She's a child, the man yelled. I took care of her. You exploited her, Nurse Abigail said coldly from across the room. She stepped forward slowly, every word steady. I know your face. You've been banned from the clinic more than once. The man's eyes widened. You used kids to run errands. You kept their IDs. You scared them so they would stay. He sputtered. Lies, lies, you can't prove anything. You're right, Nurse Abigail said. I can't, not alone. She turned to Tunde. But someone like him should never be near Amara again. The man smirked at Tunde despite being restrained. And who are you supposed to be? Her father, he mocked. Tunde's eyes hardened. Yes, he said simply, I am. The man laughed so loudly the guards shook him. You, her father. Then where were you when she was scavenging for food? Where were you when rats were running across her mattress at night? Where were you when she cried herself to sleep because she thought nobody wanted her? Every word stabbed Tunde like a blade. But Amara spoke before he could. He wasn't there, she said softly. But you know what? Neither were you. You didn't help me. You trapped me. The man opened his mouth, but the guard tightened his grip, shutting him up with a startled groan. Tunde glanced at Mama Kay. Please call the police. Mama Kay nodded immediately and hurried to the counter. The man's eyes went wide. Wait, no, you can't. You came here shouting, Tunde said coldly. Threatening a girl, that is enough. The guard holding him snorted. You're lucky we're doing this the legal way. The man thrashed. You can't take her from me. She's nothing without me. Wrong, Tunde said firmly. She is everything her mother believed she would be, and starting today, she will never belong to anyone who hurts her. The man screamed curses as the guards dragged him outside. His voice faded with the closing door. Amara sagged into her chair. Her hands shook violently now that the danger had passed. The adrenaline that had kept her upright drained out of her in an instant. She felt small, weak, exhausted. Tunde took one cautious step toward her. Are you hurt? She shook her head, trying to catch her breath. No, I just didn't expect him to find me. Nurse Abigail sat beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. You're safe now, she said. He won't come near you again. Amara nodded slowly, but confusion swirled in her eyes. I don't understand any of this, she whispered. Why today? Why you? Why my mom's letter? Why did everything have to happen at once? Tunde pulled a chair closer and sat across from her. His voice was soft but steady. Because sometimes, when life has separated people for too long, it brings them back together in the strangest, sharpest ways. She sucked in a shaky breath. What happens now? She asked. Tunde hesitated, but not for long. He reached into his wallet, pulled out the worn baby picture, and placed it gently in front of her. Now, he said, we start again. She stared at the photo. Her, a baby, her mother, and him, a younger man with hope in his eyes. She touched the picture with trembling fingers. But before she could speak again, the restaurant door opened once more. A uniformed police officer stepped inside. His eyes scanned the room, and then landed straight on Amara. Ma'am, he said carefully, we need to talk. It's about your mother's past and something recently discovered in her medical records. The entire table froze. Amara's heart skipped a beat. Tunde's breath caught. Nurse Abigail's eyes widened with fear. The officer stepped closer, lowering his voice. I'm afraid this may change everything you thought you knew. The restaurant fell silent as the police officer stepped closer, his expression unreadable. His uniform was neatly pressed, his badge polished, but his eyes carried the weight of someone who had seen too much. Amara froze in her seat. Change everything, she whispered. About what? The officer nodded courteously at Mama Kay, then pulled out a small tablet. I'm Officer Daniels, he said. This might be difficult, so I'll explain slowly. Earlier today, we arrested a man who attempted to break into a storage unit belonging to the free clinic where your mother received treatment. Nurse Abigail gasped. The clinic, but why would he? The officer held up a hand. Inside that storage unit, he continued, were several sealed boxes of medical records that had been misplaced years ago. One of those boxes belonged to your mother, Tunde Cole. Amara gripped the edge of the table. What does that have to do with me? Officer Daniels looked at Tunde for a long moment before answering. When we scanned the records into the system earlier today, something came up, something the clinic staff should have seen years ago, something that should have been reported. He turned the tablet around. On the screen was a medical form. At the top was Tunde's name. Under it, Amara's heart stopped. There, highlighted in yellow, was a note written by a doctor 16 years ago. Mother may need support with postpartum care. Father has been attempting to locate patient. Recommend notifying him. Another line written in red. Patient's family has blocked all attempts to reach father. The officer exhaled deeply. Your mother didn't just disappear from your father, he said. Her family actively hid you both, even from hospital staff. They intercepted messages. They refused calls. They lied when the clinic tried to contact your father. Tunde's hands curled into fists. He felt sick, betrayed. He had known Tunde's parents disliked him, but this. Amara stared at the screen, tears forming again, not from sadness this time, but from shock, confusion, and a deep, burning hurt. So all this time, all these years, she pressed a hand against her forehead. He wasn't running from us. Tunde leaned forward, voice trembling but firm. No, Amara, I was running to you. I just didn't know where to find you. She looked at him, eyes softening but still clouded with uncertainty. The officer wasn't finished. There's more, he said quietly. That man your guards restrained earlier, the one who claimed you owed him money, He was connected to a group known for taking advantage of homeless teens. We found some concerning things in his apartment. Amara shivered. What things? Officer Daniels hesitated. Photos, he said gently. IDs, personal belongings from multiple kids. He had a habit of tracking vulnerable teens and taking control of their movements. Nurse Abigail inhaled sharply. I knew it, she whispered. I knew he was dangerous. Amara's voice broke. I lived with him for 7 months after Mom died. The realization shook her. This wasn't a man she escaped from. This was a predator she survived. Tunde stood suddenly, pushing his chair back. That man will never come near you again, he said, voice full of steel. I will make sure of that. Amara looked up at him. I don't understand why any of this is happening now. Officer Daniels closed the tablet. Because those boxes were discovered today, he said. Because that man tried to break into the wrong storage unit. Because your father happened to be in Atlanta at the right moment. He paused. Sometimes life waits for the perfect time, even if that time is painful. He stood straighter. For now, we need Amara to come with us to file a full statement about that man. Amara's breath quickened. Am I in trouble? No, the officer assured. You're a victim, but we need your testimony to keep him off the streets. Tunde stepped forward immediately. If she goes, I go with her. The officer nodded once. That's allowed. A crack formed in Amara's hardened expression. She didn't say thank you. She didn't hug him. But for the first time, she didn't pull away. Let me, she wiped her face. Let me just breathe. She stood slowly, her legs unsteady. Tunde moved to help, but she steadied herself with the table. I'm okay, she whispered, just processing. They walked outside together. The evening air was cool, brushing gently against their skin. Blue and red police lights flashed across the street as the man who had terrified Amara was shoved into the back of a patrol car, screaming and kicking. Amara looked away quickly. She didn't want to hear him, or see him, or remember him. Tunde noticed her trembling and placed a protective arm around her, not pulling her close, just offering the warmth of safety. For a few seconds, she didn't move away. The officer opened the back door of his squad car. Don't worry, he said kindly. You sit up front, you're not in custody, you're being protected. Amara nodded slowly, still gripping her mother's letter. She slid inside the front seat. Tunde stood outside the open door for a moment, watching her. Her small frame, her tired eyes, her pendant shining softly in the streetlight. He swallowed a lump in his throat. He had missed her entire childhood. Her birthdays, her first day of school, her first heartbreak, her mother's burial, her nights sleeping hungry, her battles alone. He lost everything and never even knew it. Sir, Officer Daniels interrupted gently. We need to leave now. Tunde nodded and climbed into the passenger seat beside Amara. As the car pulled away from Mama Kay's restaurant, Amara looked down at her mother's letter again. Her fingers brushed the final line. If you find him, let him love you. Her throat tightened. She didn't look at Tunde, but for the first time since they met, her heart opened just a little. The city lights blurred as they drove deeper into the night. And none of them, not Amara, not Tunde, not the officer, knew that the biggest secret of all was waiting for them at the police station. A secret hidden for 16 years. A secret Nurse Abigail feared might break Amara all over again. A secret that would flip everything upside down again. Before we continue, think about this. If you were in Amara's shoes, would you trust Tunde yet? Or would you still keep your walls up? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to tell us where in the world you're watching from. And if this story has pulled you in so far, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and share the video with someone who loves emotional African folktale dramas. The police station was colder than Amara expected, too bright, too quiet, with walls that smelled faintly of bleach and old paperwork. Officer Daniels guided them through the double doors and down a long hallway. Tunde walked beside Amara, close enough to protect her but far enough not to overwhelm her. At the end of the hall was a small interview room with a glass window and 2 chairs. "You can wait here," Officer Daniels said gently. "We just need your statement, nothing more." Amara nodded stiffly, her fingers gripping her mother's letter. She sat carefully, folding her arms as though trying to hold herself together. Tunde remained standing. He didn't want to sit until she felt safe. He didn't want to breathe too loudly, move too quickly, or say the wrong thing. After everything she had been through, he knew trust couldn't be forced. It had to be earned slowly. Officer Daniels left the room for a moment. When the door closed, the silence between them felt fragile. After a long pause, Amara said quietly, "You don't have to be here. I can handle this." Tunde shook his head. "I know you can. You've been handling the world alone since you were a child." His voice softened, "But you shouldn't have had to." She looked away. Her eyes glistened, but she blinked quickly, fighting the emotion back. He moved to the opposite chair, sitting gently. "Amara," he said, "if you want me to leave, just say it. I'll respect whatever you want." She opened her mouth, paused, and then exhaled. "You can stay," she whispered. His chest tightened with emotion. He nodded, not wanting to break the moment. But their quiet was interrupted when the door opened again. This time, Nurse Abigail stepped inside. But she wasn't alone. Behind her was a tall man with a worn-out briefcase and nervous eyes. His thin glasses sat crooked on his nose. His shirt was tucked awkwardly, as though he had dressed in a hurry. Amara frowned. "Who's he?" Nurse Abigail clasped her hands together. "This is Mr. Lawson," she said. "He works with child welfare and long-term case files. He has something you need to see." Amara stiffened. "I already know my past," she said. "There's nothing else to tell." Mr. Lawson swallowed hard. "I'm afraid there is." He opened the briefcase and pulled out a thick brown folder, creased from age. Tunde's brows furrowed. "What's in that file?" Mr. Lawson took a long breath. "These are records from 16 years ago. Birth records, relocation papers, emergency custody documents. Things that should have been reviewed when you were taken into the system, Amara, but were not." She crossed her arms tightly. "I don't want to hear about their mistakes," she muttered. "I just want to move on." Mr. Lawson hesitated, then opened the folder. The first paper he laid on the table made Tunde freeze. A birth certificate. His name was on it. His full name. Chief Tunde Cole, father. His breath caught in his throat. He leaned forward slowly, eyes scanning the document. He read it twice, then a third time, unable to believe what he was seeing. "This," he whispered, "this is real." Amara stared at the certificate, her lips parting. "My mother, she put your name on it." Mr. Lawson nodded. "She did. She named you officially. She wanted you to know your father when you were older." Amara blinked rapidly, mind racing. She looked at the paper again, and something inside her shifted. But then Mr. Lawson placed another document on the table. A thick one. Amara's stomach dropped. "What's that?" Mr. Lawson spread the pages slowly. "These are your mother's emergency relocation records from the day she was taken from her home in Lagos. In these documents—" He paused, searching for the right words. "There's mention of a private security raid on your mother's family home. Someone accused your father of being a threat." Tunde recoiled. "What? I was never violent. I never." I know, Mr. Lawson interrupted. It wasn't true. Someone fabricated the report, paid for it. And once this false accusation was filed, your mother's family had legal grounds to keep her hidden from you. Amara's heart pounded. Someone did this on purpose. Mr. Lawson nodded gravely. Someone wanted you separated. Who? Tunde demanded. His voice shook with anger. Who would do something like that? Mr. Lawson flipped the page and turned it toward them. On the signature line was a name. A name both Tunde and Amara recognized. A name that made the room spin. Signed Chief Abena Akefer. Amara gasped. My grandfather. Tunde's hands turned to fists. Nkem's father lied to the authorities, lied to her hospital, lied to me. Mr. Lawson nodded. There's more. He listed you, Tunde, as dangerous, said you threatened his daughter, said you planned to abduct the baby. That is a lie, Tunde growled. A complete lie. Amara breathed shakily. That's why she never came back. That's why she never answered your calls. She thought you were dangerous. Mr. Lawson slowly placed yet another document on the table. A letter. A typed one. A letter from Chief Abena Akefer to Nkem, telling her she was forbidden from contacting Tunde. Telling her she must leave Lagos. Telling her she must protect the child from a man who cannot be trusted. Amara pressed her hand to her mouth. Nurse Abigail's eyes filled with tears. Tunde felt something deep inside him crack. All those years. All that searching. All that guilt. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't fate. It was sabotage. Mr. Lawson cleared his throat, voice heavy with sorrow. There's one last thing, he said quietly, the most important document in this file. He placed a final paper on the table. A DNA record. Amara's name. Tunde's name. A stamp reading, match 99.9%. Amara's breath hitched. Tunde raised a trembling hand to his mouth. It's true, Mr. Lawson said softly. Legally, medically, unquestionably, this man is your father. The room felt too small. Amara stared at the page, at her mother's letter still held tightly in her fist, at the face of the man she had spent her whole life believing abandoned her. She whispered, barely audible. So all this time it was you. Tunde swallowed hard. No, Amara, I never stopped looking. I never gave up on you, not for one day. Amara looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since they met. She saw the pain, the regret, the longing, the love he had carried for years. Not a stranger's face. Not a liar's face. Her father's face. A tear slipped down her cheek. But before either of them could speak again, the door swung open abruptly. A second officer stepped inside, breathless. Daniels, we've got a problem, he said urgently. That man you arrested earlier, the one who threatened the girl, he's not just some street criminal. Officer Daniels stiffened. What do you mean? The second officer held up a phone. His contacts, his messages, there's someone else involved, someone powerful. He showed the screen. Tunde's eyes widened. Amara gasped. Even Nurse Abigail staggered back. On the screen was a name that made the floor feel like it was tilting beneath them. Chief Abena Akefer, Amara's grandfather, her mother's father, the man who tore her family apart. Still alive, still pulling strings, still dangerous. And according to the message on the screen, he wanted Amara found. He wanted her returned. And he wanted Tunde stopped. For several seconds, the room didn't breathe. The screen still glowed in the officer's hand, displaying the name that had shaped, no, destroyed 2 lives. Chief Abena Akefer, Amara's grandfather, the man whose lies tore her parents apart. the man who had vanished years ago after leaving Lagos in disgrace. The man she had been told was long dead. Amara's hands trembled violently. "He's alive," she whispered, "but Mom said he died years ago." Mr. Lawson inhaled slowly. "That's what the public record shows, but this message," he pointed at the screen, "came from 2 days ago. His phone is active, very active." Officer Daniels rubbed his forehead. "We traced the number. It was pinged from a hidden compound outside the city, used under a false identity." Tunde clenched his fists. "So he's still controlling things from the shadows." "And it gets worse," Daniels said grimly. "The message says, and I'll read it exactly." He scrolled and read aloud. "Keep the girl close. The father must not get to her first. Bring her to me quietly. We finish what we started." Nurse Abigail gasped. Mr. Lawson paled. Amara shook her head slowly, as if denying reality would erase it. He still doesn't want me with my father," she murmured. "Even after Mom died, even after everything." Her voice cracked under the weight of betrayal. "He told her lies. Now he wants to tell me more." Tunde stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on the table. "Amara," he said quietly, "your mother spent her last breath trying to free you from him. She wrote that letter to protect you from exactly this." Amara swallowed hard. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why would he want to keep me away from you? Why after all these years?" Mr. Lawson closed the file slowly. "Because, Amara, your grandfather is not just controlling. He is powerful, dangerous, and he hates your father." "Why?" she asked. Tunde spoke before anyone else could. "Because your grandfather believed I stole your mother from the life he wanted for her. He hated that I was poor, that I dreamed too big. He believed Nkem deserved a wealthy, politically connected husband, someone who could elevate his own status." He looked down. "So he destroyed our family to protect his pride." Amara pressed both hands to her forehead. Everything was heavy. Too heavy. Her chest felt tight, her breathing uneven. Officer Daniels approached gently. "We need to take you both somewhere safe." "Safe?" Amara echoed. "From my grandfather." "Yes," Daniels said. "If he's connected to that man who tried to take you, then he's still looking for you, and he may not stop." Tunde turned to the officer. "What are our options?" "There's a secure protection program," Daniels explained. "Short term, it will keep you off the radar while we track Abana's movements." Amara shook her head. "No, no more running. I'm done running from people who want to control my life." Her voice was shaky but strong, stronger than she realized. Tunde knelt beside her chair. "You won't run," he said softly. "Not this time, because you won't be alone." She looked at him, eyes trembling. "But why now?" she asked. "Why come for me now after all these years?" Mr. Lawson hesitated. "There's something else," he said quietly. "In the clinic records, in your mother's early paperwork." He unfolded one more sheet from the thick file. A small document stamped with Lagos hospital markings. "It says here," he continued, "that your grandfather legally declared you missing the year you turned 3. He filed the paperwork without your mother's knowledge. He claimed you were kidnapped." Amara's jaw dropped. That's insane." "He did it," Lawson said, "to gain permanent power. If he controlled your legal status, he could control where you lived, who you met, and what you learned about your parents." Tunde's voice darkened with fury. "And to erase me from her life forever." "But why does he want me now?" Amara asked again. The second officer stepped forward and handed Daniels another printout. "This might answer that," he said. Daniels read it quickly, then his expression hardened. "Abana recently lost a large portion of his overseas investments, nearly everything, and according to this," he tapped the paper, "he's trying to reconnect with old political allies, Having a granddaughter living under his control would be a very valuable bargaining chip. Amara's stomach turned. So he wants to use me. Tunde clenched his jaw. He always thought of people as tools. Officer Daniels nodded. And he wants her back before anyone knows she exists. If the public knew Chief Tunde Cole had a missing daughter he just found, Abana's plans would fall apart. Everything clicked into place. Amara looked at Tunde, really looked, and the fear in his eyes wasn't for himself. It was for her. For the daughter he just found. For the child he lost. For the girl who had survived too much alone. Her throat tightened. "So what do we do?" she whispered. Tunde reached across the table slowly, giving her plenty of time to pull away. She didn't. He took her hand gently. "We do what your mother asked," he said softly. "We stand together." The officers exchanged glances. Nurse Abigail wiped a tear. Mr. Lawson closed the file, sealing 16 years of secrets inside. Officer Daniels cleared his throat. "We've arranged a protected transport to a secure residence, just for tonight. After that, we'll help you figure the rest out." Amara squeezed Tunde's hand. For the first time, she held on. They walked out of the station together under the dim glow of streetlights. The night air was cool, brushing softly against their faces. Police cars hummed in the background. The city buzzed quietly around them. Amara stepped into the secure SUV. Tunde followed. The door shut with a firm final thud. As the car pulled away, Amara looked at him. "Are you really staying?" she whispered. He turned to her fully. "Amara," he said softly, "I will spend the rest of my life proving that I am." A single tear escaped her eye. For the first time, she didn't wipe it away. Outside, the city grew smaller behind them. Ahead, a new beginning waited. Painful, complicated, beautiful. But theirs. The past had taken too much. The future would not. And as they disappeared into the night, father and daughter, separated by years, reunited by fate, finally stepped into the life they should have shared all along. Before you go, think about this. If your entire life changed in one day like Amara's, what would you do? Would you let someone back into your life after years of pain? Share your thoughts in the comments below and tell us where you're watching from. If this story kept you glued from beginning to end, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves deep, emotional African folktale dramas.